Your own understanding. Truth under Babylon's empiricism. What up? Once again, here we go with the empiricism. Wow. So I wanted to actually make sure I had all the facts first before I talked about this. And it went viral. It's something that I am very familiar with when it comes to dealing with our multicultural members of society. So now down in Buckhead, Atlanta, we got more atrocities going on with the indigenous discrimination and all this kind of crazy shit. Now, I'm going to actually try to break this down as well as possible so we can, as a community, at least get to the next level of thinking and understanding. Because at this point, I mean, I am tired of talking about this shit. And you should be too. So, the man could not celebrate the day with his wife because he had on sneakers. In an establishment that claims they have a policy that disallows sneakers. And the issue was, for the target of the discrimination, the issue was there's another patron of another race with the same violation on the dress code. And he didn't understand why he was being singled out and sent on his way. I'm going to tell you why in a second. His wife, you know, I didn't really see her, but I did hear her. Obviously, she was just as stunned as he was. So it's not just one, it's two. Now it's a couple. Now it's king and queen. And what I don't understand is, at this point, society should know better. I mean, come on. Anyway, what folks need to understand is, I'm going to explain what the whole idea was behind the sneakers in a second, but I want to get to this point first. We live in a society that is based on the exploitation of the have-nots. We use the monetary system, or they use the monetary system, to single out, control, and basically ostracize the indigenous. Why? Because the indigenous do not resonate with this type of system. Even they don't know that this hurts their soul, the way we process our connections with people through this system. They really don't understand themselves what the issue is. They don't understand themselves why they're always looking for the hookup and things like that. It's because we don't have the exploitive nature that is necessary in order to participate in this shit. This fuckery of fools that just basically want to fuck each other for notes of exchange that have no backing whatsoever. Just because the conquering culture decides to exert or express their authority through notes of commerce doesn't give those notes or those people absolute control and power over everyone. And that's what the indigenous are not figuring out in their head. Like, they're not understanding their own soul and why their soul is so hurt and bleeding, has been hurt and bleeding for so long. It's because this is not our culture. This is not our way of life. We don't do things like this. We think we do because we've been practicing it all this time, not for our own, for our own efforts, but through force. And we have developed Stockholm Syndrome to an idealism that is totally not ours. So when it comes to restaurants and all this other crazy shit, I'm going to try to take it step by step. Like I said, the system is about money. Those restaurants are about money. Now, when you compare, I'm gonna give you an example. You take a high-end restaurant. Think of any high-end restaurant. You can call Umi a high-end restaurant if you want. I've never been there, but they say it's higher end, so fine. You take Umi and you take Popeyes, and all you see is the difference between the menu. No, the difference between Umi's and Popeyes is the demographic that they are targeting. And this you have to keep in mind when you consider your appetite and you don't want to handle that yourself. You want to go out in society and nourish your body. But you can't nourish your complete body with things that are not meant for you. Like, there is an energy behind everything. So if someone's putting something together and handing it to you, they've seasoned that product with their contempt. You might not think about things like that or even consider shit like that, but it's the truth. So when these businesses are established, everything about that business is considered. The construction of the building itself, the architecture, the location of the building, and the demographic that they are targeting. All these things are considered before they even start to build, before they even start to, begin anything when it comes to that business. So this is a philosophy that is held within that business, within that culture of goods and services and things like that. So when they hire people and they instill those values inside of them. So when they, go about their way doing their jobs, they have the same, philosophy in the back of their head that the business does. It's infectious because they know they can get certain privileges inside the place and others can't. I'm talking about the workers, and let alone the customers, because we all know what happens when you're not a preferred customer. So when you go to these places and they look at you with that little crooked face, that's why. The indigenous are the enemy. All cultures know this. They look for the blueprint to follow when it comes to the strength of the indigenous. All cultures do this. They follow the blueprint of the colonials, the blueprint of your conquerors who show that they can control you. So every other culture adopts that same philosophy when it comes to dealing with the indigenous. Every culture, whether they know it or not, does it. Because unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Indigenous, you are the food of a tyrannical society. Point blank. There's no other explanation for it. And until you understand this, you're always going to be, well, why is this and why is that? And that shit makes me so sick to my stomach when I see like situations like I'm explaining now, and people just going on like status quo after a few days or whatever case, and everything's da-da-da-da. Okay, so the mechanism that they used in this case with Umi was sneakers, a dress code. Keep this in mind. It had nothing to do with a dress code. Obviously, we all know this. Then you break it down a little further. Sneakers. So now, the point was made, well, there's another patron of another race that has on sneakers. Adidas. Why can she sit there? And why do I have to leave? That bitch could have had a seeing eye dog and flip-flops on, and she'd have been fine because she was one of the demographic. She had Adidas on, you had Air Force Ones. You have to understand something about society and your handlers. Air Force Ones, listen carefully, Air Force Ones is the connection to the streets. The inner city youth, gang members, so to speak, wear Air Force Ones. This is what law enforcement understands. This is what law enforcement uses for their stop and frisk, for their, fucking profiling and shit. They use different things, different call signs. Air Force Ones is one of those call signs. So when you go into a restaurant, it's one of those so-called high-end exclusive restaurants. They call it high-end exclusive because they don't want your nigga ass in there, point blank. And they don't want you making their preferred customers uncomfortable by your presence. They know that the indigenous make people uncomfortable because of their strength and the energy that they exude. So it's not your fault. But you have to understand this is a reality. So you have on Air Force Ones, you're a target. You have on melanated skin, you're a target. You're just a target. Why? Because you're beautiful. Damn. It's okay to be beautiful. So Adidas and Air Force Ones, of course they're going to single you out because, like I said, they all are on the same page with that shit. Law enforcement knows this. No, obviously they're into law enforcement. They're into, the discriminatory practices of your handlers within the monetary system here of society. They know that the way to keep money, begetting money, is to get your ass out of there and not be around when the money is shaking hands with the money. You're fucking the money up. Pretty much. So, and I say that to say this. Unfortunately, it actually spawned a response from somebody I fucks with. T.I. I fucks with his music and stuff. But like I said, everybody's a surface to me. Blood, flesh, and bone. To me, it's all see-through. A creep's a person, 2 creeps a people. 3 creeps, well, you get it. Just mixing the wicked. We all grit teeth and chew beef every minute. But anyway, this man decided to speak on the situation without talking to the subject of the situation. The subject is the people who were being discriminated against. If you want to talk to somebody, you talk to them and see what they want to do. Because as aggressive and as vulgar and as just dismissive as those owners were, the owner and the employees were, that's how aggressive and dismissive T.I. should have been when it came to, any kind of meeting with them, if they was going to meet with them. And that kind of makes me sad a little bit because he went there with all like roses and candy and shit, and they came at your people with spatulas and shit bags. So I just, I don't really I ain't dig that at all. But I know one thing. You motherfuckers better wake up real fast because Trump is getting elected again. Believe that. And whatever you think may be happening now as a result of Trump being in office is going to happen 10 times over. 2021, 2022. You better be lucky we even get remotely close to whatever so-called normalcy we had pre-COVID. I'm trying to tell you all, this is we are in World War III. We've been in World War III for a long time. A long time. Has nothing to do with guns and bullets and shit like that. It's way beyond bullets and blood and bone. Way beyond that. All that Black Panther shit and all that other stuff back in the 70s and 60s, that shit was 500 years too late. Now they're using your mind against you. And I really need y'all to wake up, man, because I know that there's a lot of people who understand like I do out there, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough. I'm sick and tired. And what Grandma say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. No, I'm just pissed that my fellow kings and queens don't see what's happening on the chessboard. I just don't get it. The monetary system is fuckery. Point blank. It's something very, very drastic that has to happen in order for anything to make any real change. It's a drastic thought to think outside of today's monetary system. Like, what do? We go back to like cavemen and shit? Fuck no. Of course not. I mean, you can use nature in a way where it actually works with you works for you, as opposed to using nature to work against you, using nature to make shit like, things that, I'm not gonna say pollute the air, things that pollute your breath, the air you take in, the energy that you are bathed in, the EMF waves and all that shit that's been created by taking natural elements and turn them into unnatural devices. Just wake up, y'all.